Namaskar. Welcome to the episode 5 about three paths, one choice, what each direction costs and what it offers. In the last episode, we talked about the crack, the moment in a relationship when the projection meets reality and something shifts. And I named three paths that every relationship takes from that moment. Today, I want to go deeper into each one, not abstractly, but in a way that you can recognize honestly, without judgment, which path you have been on, which one you are on right now, and what it would actually take to choose differently. Because the choice at this junction is one of the most consequential choices available in a human life. And most people make it unconsciously, driven by the Vikara's response, by habit, by fear, rather than from genuine understanding. The first path is restoration. The attempt, conscious or unconscious, to return the relationship to what it felt like before the crack appeared. This looks different in different relationships. Sometimes it is one person accommodating, softening, adjusting their behavior to reduce the friction. Sometimes it is both people agreeing without ever saying so explicitly not to look too closely at what the crack revealed, to smooth it over, to focus on what is working and not disturb what is not. On the surface, this path looks like maturity, like choosing the relationship over the ego, like letting things go. And sometimes it genuinely is that. Sometimes the crack was small, the projection adjustment was minor, and the smoothing over is honest and healthy. But often it is something else. It is the avoidance of a difficult conversation, the suppression of a genuine need, the decision to prioritize the relationship's continuity over its honesty. And the cost of that decision accumulates quietly, not dramatically, not immediately, but over months and years. The unspoken truth creates a distance. The resentment that has nowhere to go turns inward or erupts sideways. The relationship continues, but both people feel increasingly alone within it. The restoration path keeps the form of the relationship intact, but it can quietly hollow out its substance. The second path is the one that ends things or damage them significantly through the mechanism of blame. The crack in the projection is interpreted as evidence. This person is wrong for me, or I was deceived, or this is not what I signed up for. The actual person who was always this complex, always this human, always carrying these qualities and these limitations is now experienced as the problem, as the one who failed. And the relationship ends or is significantly damaged in grievance. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not saying that all endings are wrong. Some relationships genuinely need to end. Some situations are genuinely harmful. The discernment between a relationship that needs honest work and a relationship that needs to end is real and important. But what I am pointing to is a specific pattern. The ending driven primarily by the disappointment of the projection rather than by a clear-eyed assessment of the actual relationship. When this is what is happening, the ending does not actually resolve anything because the projection is not examined. The pattern is not understood, and so it is carried largely intact into the next relationship, where it will find a new match and the honeymoon will begin again, and the crack will come again, and the blame will come again. This is the karmic cycle in relationships, not as punishment, as a pattern seeking completion through repetition, because it has not yet been genuinely understood. The third path is the hardest, and it is the only one that leads somewhere genuinely new. It is the path of staying with what the crack reveals, not to fix it, not to flee from it, but to look at it honestly. To ask, what is this showing me? This requires something that does not come naturally to most people: the willingness to turn the inquiry inward rather than outward. To move from the question, what is wrong with them, to the question, what was I carrying? What was in the projection that I built of that person? What did I need them to be? What did I need them to provide that I have not yet found within myself? These are not comfortable questions. They require a level of honesty about one's own conditioning and one's own unmet needs that most people actively avoid. But they are the questions that lead somewhere real. Because when you can see what you are projecting, when you can hold the projection clearly enough to distinguish it from the actual person, something important becomes possible. You can begin to relate to who is actually there. Not the image, not the need, to the actual human being with their actual complexity, their actual history, their actual limitations, and their actual gifts. This is the beginning of genuine relationship. And it is also, I want to say clearly, the beginning of genuine freedom from the pattern. I want to be honest about what the third path requires, because I do not want to make it sound easier than it is. It requires sustained self-examination, the willingness to sit with discomfort rather than immediately resolve it through either restoration or blame. It requires what the Vedic tradition calls viveka, discriminating wisdom. The ability to distinguish between what is real and what is projected, between what the other person is actually doing and what your conditioned response is adding to it. It requires the support of genuine practice, whether that is the silence or honest conversation with a trusted person, or the kind of structured self-inquiry that your platform provides. This is not work that the thinking mind can do alone. The thinking mind is the one that builds the projection in the first place. And it requires time. The projection was built over years. It does not clear in a conversation. It clears gradually through sustained, honest attention. But here is what the third path offers that neither of the other two can: the possibility of actually knowing other person, and through that knowing, the possibility of actually knowing yourself more clearly. The Vedic tradition's understanding is that this is the real purpose of close relationship. Not comfort, not completion, not the fulfillment of the projection, but the opportunity through genuine encounter with another soul to see your own conditioning more clearly and to gradually become free of it. Here is what I want you to sit with this week. Think honestly about the significant relationships in your life, past or present, and for each one identify which path was taken at the moment of the crack: restoration, blame, or genuine encounter. And if you are honest, you will probably find that the same path appears repeatedly. Not because you are flawed, but because without understanding the mechanism, the default response runs automatically. The fact that you are listening to this series means something is shifting. Some part of you is ready to understand the mechanism rather than simply repeat it. In the next episode, we are going to talk about something that connects everything. So, what we have covered so far, your specific pattern. Why it is not random? Why the same dynamic keeps appearing in different forms? And what the tradition means when it says you are not meeting strangers. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.